Let me introduce my guest to you. I have seated on my right Teiko Sabah, who is the Acting Director of Policy and Programs at Star Ghana Foundation. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. And you?
I'm well, thank you.
No.
It's good to have you on the show.
Yeah, glad to be here.
All right, can't wait for us to get into the conversation. Let me introduce my other guest to you. Duncan Amoah is the Executive Secretary of COPEC and my rival in many other quarters. Hi.
I accept the rivalry.
How are you doing?
Dave, good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
Sure.
It's good to see you too.
The smoke looks good on you.
Thank you. Well, it's Heritage Month, so trying to rock it.
I'll come next week.
All right, so we want to discuss three important topics today. We're going to be looking at the Kintampo Tamale highway accident, what it is we can do as a nation to try and stem the accident tide, as it were. Also, we'll look at the fuel prices issue. COPEC is demanding a reduction in prices. Of course, this is off the back of the reduction of crude oil prices on the world market. And then also coronavirus outbreak. Two cases have been confirmed in Burkina Faso. And of course, Burkina is our neighbor. So what does it mean also for Ghana and our state of preparedness? Let me begin with reading the story on citynewsroom.com. The first story is the accident. So let me just take that quickly. I will engage Teiko first. Now, the story here says, 28 persons burned beyond recognition after road crash on Kintampo highway. At least 28 persons have been confirmed dead after two buses collided on the Kintampo Tamale highway. The deceased in the crash were burned beyond recognition after the wreckage caught fire. There were 6 survivors who have been sent to nearby health facilities. The Kintampo Divisional Crime Officer, DSP Kobna Gbagbo, told Citi News that the crash happened around 3 a.m. on Monday, 9th March 2020. One of the buses involved in the crash was from Boku and was headed to Techiman when the crash occurred near an area called Dawadawa number 2. It had about 11 passengers on board. The other vehicle was a Sprinter bus with about 23 passengers. All the passengers on the Sprinter bus were burnt beyond recognition. Out of the 11 passengers on board the other bus, only 6 survived. 5, together with the driver, also got burnt beyond recognition, said DSP Gbagbo. This crash has been the most fatal since the Dompoase, which claimed 35 lives in January 2020. In that crash, the intercity bus collided head-on with another bus at Dompoase near Elmina in the central region. Now, let me come to you, Teiko. What do you make of this?
It's a very horrendous accident, and our aspirations go out to the families who have lost loved ones because of this. And it's a very sad situation. But for me, the issue is that why does that keep occurring?
Yeah.
Every few weeks we hear of a big crash and many people die, and then we come out and speak, and then we go to sleep, and then the next few weeks we hear it again. I mean, why is it happening? We need to understand why. On those stretches from the north to the south, they do nocturnal journeys.
Yeah.
So the bus from Boku would have set off at midnight to get to Accra in the morning, or the one from Wa would set off at midnight in Accra, would set off at midnight. And therefore, sometimes the drivers are tired. But it's not just about the driver. I think there's a few factors that we have to look at. How do we ensure that the laws that we have put in place work?
Yeah.
And who makes it work, and who ensures that things like the tires that our drivers use under their cars, do we have a spare driver that supports the driver? All these things come into play, and it's quite sad that once again, this thing has happened. And as you said, Dompoase happened just a few weeks ago. Now this has happened.
Yeah.
How do we stop Ghanaian lives from being lost?
Yeah.
And how do we stop families from suffering this tragedy over and over again? That's the conversation that Ghana has to have.
Where do you think culpability lies in this specific one? I mean, I see a number of issues here, and I would like to know what your thoughts are. So first of all, I see that first the driver was supposed to have been asleep, okay, when it happened. Now, I used to drive long journeys. I haven't done it in quite a bit, but I know what it's like to be sleepy on the road, you know.
Yeah.
I've had to park at filling stations, and sometimes it's just 10, 15 minutes, just nap. And as soon as you wake up, you go back on the road, and you're fine, you know. So that's more attitudinal.
Yes.
You know, and you know, than anything else.
Yeah.
That's one. But then also, apparently, it looks like the fuel caught fire because there was excess fuel from the motorbikes that were packed on top of of one of the vehicles.
Yeah.
But who checks those things? Is that the way to transport motorbikes?
And I'm sure there were policemen or there were police stops on the road all the way from where the bus started to where the accident happened in Dawadawa number 2. Why didn't the policemen stop it? You know, sometimes we look at costs that we are saving on costs. So, for example, instead of putting the motorbikes in the cargo truck, you decide to put it on the passenger vehicle. Also, instead of getting an extra driver, you know, it's too much cost, so the driver would do that
on his own.
I think the culpability is a lot of places. So when the owners of the vehicle, you know, and of course the drivers are always complaining that the owners need them to give sales of a particular amount, and therefore they push themselves to be able to give the sales. And so where the driver gets the money is the cargo that he's able to charge extra on. I think it's also about the monitoring that we do on the highways by our MTTU team that is doing well. I think they can do better, you know, and also about ensuring that we have safety equipment. So, for example, every vehicle is supposed to have a fire extinguisher. I saw the flames. It was quite huge, you know. But at least there could have been a few fire extinguishers that could have stopped the flames, or somebody who knew how to fight fires on the buses. So all these things come into play in terms of stopping that. But I think the human element is also quite huge. The human element. We have to look at what we will lose when these things go wrong. And now the driver hasn't just lost his life, but his family is also now deprived because of that.
Yeah. Let me go to Duncan. How did it make you feel hearing of this, considering that Dompoase happened not too long ago? And we all had our reactions to Dompoase and everything else, you know, just in January. And then now this one.
David, I unfortunately had to see the whole accident on social media. And the gory images and the videos were very disheartening. You look at human bodies and how charred or bent they were. And then you ask, I mean, how? In the 21st century where a lot of safety is being added onto vehicles, accidents are probably going to happen anyway, but they shouldn't lead to the kind of decapitation you see, the kind of effect you see. I'm tempted on this call to go with the Bureau of Public Safety. Okay. In fact, I heard the Executive Director, Nanayao, yesterday insisting that until we make a conscious effort as Ghanaians to improve our highways from, you know, the single lane bits.
Dualizing our roads.
I mean, exactly. I'm sure if it was a dual bit, drivers may sleep and all of that. They probably will fall into some ditch. People will go home. You may get accidents, but not the sort of head-on collisions that we're seeing on the Cape Coast Accra stretch, on the Accra Kumasi stretch, and then now the Brong Ahafo also gaining some notoriety for these accidents. I do think strongly that our leaders should start considering dualizing these roads, because it doesn't help.
Well,
sometimes you are driving.
Well, they say they've started, and I don't know which ones they've started with, because the minister, transport minister, actually came out after Don Poasi to say that government is underway dualizing all the international roads.
Maybe we are not seeing what they are dualizing yet. We want to see those results, because they've tried the Accra Kumasi to a point, and then I don't know if the money got finished and suddenly work stalled.
But that's a long time ago.
Well, that's under President Kufuor. I think he did his bit. If the others had all continued 50 kilometers, I'm sure, by now that would have been a full, stretch you can actually drive for longer. Unfortunately, they will pay lip service to this, and then people's lives are gone. We're not the country that seems to learn, and I'm sorry. Clearly, things happen, we lament, we complain, we talk, we cry, we wail, but the families who feel these, it lives with them forever. And as to whether government will continue to pay lip service today, or future governments would also come and then the same lip service is paid to us, I think that Ghanaians must begin speaking out, because at the end of the day, it may not be yourself in a public transport, but a cousin, a brother, a sister, anybody.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you hear is that they are bent to that degree. You can't even recognize which of them is your family. Yeah. I think that Ghanaians must begin demanding for these dual, carriage highways. Anything other than that, these collisions are likely to... There are times, David, lastly, you are driving and then, other cars have wider axle.
Yeah.
And look at how narrow these roads are. And sometimes you may need to just get off. Where you have official convoys coming, I wonder how they manage to go safely. Because sometimes they are just on the other stretch, oncoming traffic and everything, and trucks are forcing to get off the road. I don't think it is not only safe, it is not safe for only the commuters, but even officialdom.
Yeah.
We shouldn't wait till a point where you hear public officials have also lost their lives in those kind of gory situations. They should continue paying the lip service. It may not only be the trotro and the U-turn drivers and all. They are also using the roads. I think that we should make a conscious effort. Devote 10% of your GDP, if you can, annually, to fixing roads, because that is the only means by which a majority of your goods and services are moved across the country. And I think that the lip service is becoming too much. If by now we had a lot of motorways across the country, it shouldn't be too much for a country with the kind of resources we have, but the political will. So we should continue demanding of them. Yeah. They talk, and I would believe that the media would also keep reminding them each time you get these politicians on set. Our roads, our roads, our roads. They may want to fix a lot of other things, but without the roads, you can't come to work. I can't move. Nobody moves. So they should pay a particular attention to that and ensure that at least we are safe. I don't go to DVLA and do how do you call that thing? Roadworthy.
Yeah.
And then I don't even find the roads worthy of a car or, we should
roads
demand.
are not car worthy.
They are not car worthy. And they are only killing, spots. Yeah. And people continue to lose their lives. Others get maimed for life. And I don't think that we are even suing the state enough. Because if people were taking some of these accidents to court and demanding that the state has neglected its role or duty in providing minimum infrastructure that is safe, I'm sure that if people were getting compensations here and there, we will find the political will to want to do the right thing. David.
So the question, and I'm going to throw this to either of you, but the question that I have is, there are many organizations I know, especially those that have international nature, tend to have certain very strict rules as far as driving in the company is concerned, right? So they insist that after 6 p.m., vehicles don't move, right? We don't seem to think that's an important measure to to insist on in this country.
We
drive any time of the day, any time of the night, and I am suggesting that high capacity vehicles should not move after 6 p.m. What do you think?
David, it sounds really good to the ear, but it won't work.
Why not?
You see, in a country where moving up north to the south would normally take you 8 to 10 hours to 12 hours, it will be difficult to say the cars you park, and these cars you find hotels for their occupants and all of that. So you would expect nightlife to exist, right?
Okay.
But minimum infrastructure should be in place. Because if you curtail nightlife, after 6, there are no movements on your roads. What happens is that your economy will also grind to a certain halt. Because in advanced economies, what makes them advanced is that there's a 24-hour cycle. Goods and services are moving through the day. But they make sure that at least these roads that they know people may be doing 100.
Yeah.
You know, highways are tricky.
Yeah.
They are not as you driving from home towards,
Absolutely.
So you are likely to want to speed up a little bit just to be able to save a little time and all of that. And unfortunately, your roads are this narrow. Yeah. And so while the person is doing all he can just to get his passengers to wherever he has to get them, unfortunately, the roads themselves are a death trap. Sometimes the kind of potholes in our highways, David,
Yeah.
we may not probably go and investigate thoroughly and blame Ghana Highway Authority for negligence. But most times you find very deep manholes in the middle of these highways. And in the process of a driver trying to just swerve these potholes, you get into an oncoming vehicle.
Yeah.
We need to address these things. And then again, we were talking of lay-bys, like stopovers.
Yeah.
You should be able to provide at least an hour each stopover for both oncoming,
on either side of the road.
So that if a driver feels, I'm a bit tired, let me park and stretch. Sometimes you may drive for 3-4 hours and not meet a single stopover or lay-by. And you come back in the bush because it's not even safe.
Of course.
So government should make it a priority that along our highways, there will be redevelopment of these roads.
Yeah.
Infrastructure will be upgraded to a very significant point, just like you happen to see elsewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
We travel, go there, look at infrastructure, and come back here and live with the death traps. I think something should be done, David.
All right. Thank you very much.
Let me just add
Yes, please. Yes, please.
that one of the things that the nation should look at strategically is to diversify our modes of transportation. From the north to the south, we have the Volta River. And that's water transport is one of the key means of transportation that Ghana needs to develop. And if we develop that, it will reduce the pressure on the roads.
True.
Air transport is also one, and it's doing very well, but we can reduce the prices on it to reduce the pressure on the
200 Ghana, so I can
as
get
well as railway line, so that when we diversify and a person has a choice to go by ferry or to go by rail or to drive for 8 hours, the person will choose one that will reduce the risk to the person. So I think that's where we should be looking.
All right, thank you. Just before we take our break, let me just quickly read a couple of messages for you from those of you who are watching. Thank you for sending them in. Daniel J. says, our drivers must take mandatory rest for long journeys. I agree. I run a transport company and I'm also certified. I'm willing to share some best practices with your station. Thank you very much, Daniel. Bonti Benjamin from Achimabuakwa says, may the gentle soul of those who passed on through the painful accident rest in the bosom of their maker. My heartfelt condolences to their families. Thank you very much for sending your messages in. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please don't go anywhere. Welcome back, and we're having an interesting conversation here on Breakfast Daily. It's News Review segment. My name is David Kwaku Sakyi, and the hashtag to send us messages on is Breakfast Daily. Our WhatsApp line is 0550585832. If you happen to be outside Ghana, kindly prefix that with +233. So I'm here with Teiko Sabah and Duncan Amoah. Now,
Your rival, that.
My able rival. I'm going to ask him. We're going to engage. I'm going to engage with him first on the next conversation. But I'll just quickly read to you a story, and then we'll get into that. So COPEC demands slash in fuel prices as global crude prices drop again. All right. So the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers wants oil marketing companies in the country to reduce their ex-pump prices for consumers to reflect the sustained decline in global crude oil prices. According to COPEC, consumers should be benefiting from a reduction of between 10 and 32% compared to the 2% that consumers have been given over the past few weeks. Portions of a statement from COPEC, which cited the nearly 30% decline in the global oil prices, said, "It is our expectation that in the coming few days, that the various oil marketing companies and the BDCs will ensure that the Ghanaian is giving nothing but the full benefit of these sustained reductions in fuel prices on the international markets." COPEC also indicated that the Citi's relative stability compared to other trading currencies should warrant a drop in prices. Okay. Duncan, but are you not asking for too much, considering that the Ghanaians' propensity for exploitation and, how do I say, price hiking, and profiteering is legendary?
We're not asking for too much. Probably too little, even too late. You've had a situation where there's been a steady decline in fuel prices across the globe, not only in Ghana. Unfortunately, in the past, when there had been surges or increases, there was no time for you and I to be told or be given excuses or technicalities or jargons.
Yeah.
It was just slapped on our faces. When it gets to reductions, points where you would have to be given reductions, then there's the feet dragging. And then you push, and then you get the excuses. And then you push further, and then you are told to wait because at the end of the day, we need to observe the trend for a while. Listen, those are all excuses that we do not want to countenance at this point. It is indeed important that if the three key factors that determine your final pump price in Ghana, if two of them are healthy and pointing downwards, let the pumps reflect these numbers instead of the excuses. Now, this is what I mean. You have a situation where your fuel prices are largely driven by these three key determinants. One, how much the product sells for, so what you call international market price. If you take the price build-up, the first element you find there is called ex-refinery price.
Okay.
So that is how much the product itself costs on the global market. The second element has to do with your forex, your Citi. Now you are looking at a situation where you cannot buy the fuel in cedis. You need to buy in dollar.
Yeah.
But then you cannot come and sell to Ghanaians in dollar because there's a legal tender, the Citi. So as you come to sell in Citi, how much of the Citi would you need to convert to be able to pay your supplier of $1 million?
Okay.
If initially I needed 5 million Ghana cedis to pay a supplier who gave me $1 million worth of product, and the Citi finds a way to gain and now drops to 5.2, what it means is that I may not need the 5.5 million cedis to pay the supplier at the end of my sale. I will now need 5.2 million Ghana cedis. There's a savings of 300,000 therein. That savings must be passed on at the pumps.
Okay.
Because in same vein, when I come and I think that by close of my sale, it would have gotten to 5.7 million instead of 5.5. If the Citi depreciates, I would need more. I would have looked for a way to do what we call forward forecasts.
Okay.
And add the 200 so that I don't finish selling and I've accumulated a certain debt that I need to go and borrow to offset.
Yeah.
So when the Citi appreciates, or gains on the dollar, there is supposed to be a gain at the pumps. That has not reflected. World market prices have declined from, if you talk about the finished product, plat, gas oil that used to be around $617 per metric, today is around $512. Look at the decline. Gasoline that used to be around 612 is today 500 flat, still going down.
Wow.
So if these price benchmarks are down, it means that whatever you are bringing in, whereas you may have paid $10 million previously for the same amount or quantity of, fuel, you may now be paying about 9.4 or even 9 million because it's gone down.
Yeah.
Yet you want to sit on the gains that we make. You don't want it to pass on to the pumps or the consumer. And we are saying that cannot be good enough, justified or excused in any way, shape or form. Because if it had been, that plat had gone up from the 612 to about 700.
Yeah.
You would have seen the hurry with which those differentials would have been added to your pump prices. So they should just do the needful and make sure that Ghanaians are not shortchanged any further. Again, one of them just sent me a message reminding me that government has also reintroduced certain minimum taxes that it took away in January. One of them being the price stabilization and recovery levy that was dropped to 0 but has now been reinforced to 16 pesos per litre on petrol, diesel and LPG.
Okay.
Then there's another argument about UPPF, the one that is used in moving products from across the country. Initially was 0.20, which is 20 pesos, is now 24 pesos. So they have taken certain taxes, absorbing certain taxes, and that probably might be informing why they haven't been able to pass on the reductions. We say, whatever that has been added, do the deductions and give us the difference at the pumps. Because we can all do the maths.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be said that we could have benefited some 50 pesos reduction or 60 pesos reduction per litre. But because government has reintroduced or re-engineered the 20 peso difference, 16 plus 4. So even the 50 or the 60 that we could have gotten, you sit on everything and say that because something has happened. Whatever the difference is, if it's 40 pesos left per litre, try and pass it on at the pump so that the trotro driver feels some ease in their pockets. Again, David, we say this on the back of the fact that if you do not reduce prices now, that crude has gone to the $30 region.
Yeah.
You know the interesting thing? Today, fuel is about 25 cedis. If they don't reduce it when it's around 30 to commensurate the 30, the next month when it goes up to 40, the same market dynamics or forces will come back and say, look, it's gone up again.
Yeah.
So we are going to increase. But you should increase from the reducing point, not increase from the already high point. I don't know if you get me.
I do.
If you had reduced from 25 to 21, and it goes back up to, say, 40, 50, and you need to increase, you may increase from 21 to 22 or 23, right? But you are 25. Reduce, you say no. So you are waiting. If it goes back up to 50, would you come back to me and say that 25, I'm going to add more? When you could have been at 21 and now begin to build from there. So we demand this be done immediately. We know some taxes have been reinforced, but those taxes will not be able to wipe out every gain. Citi alone has made about 5% recovery or gain over the dollar particularly. If that alone was an influencing factor, fuel prices would still have dropped. But you have world market prices also dropping significantly, and yet the excuse is that there's been reinforcement of taxes, so we can't go down. We beg the BDCs. We beg OMCs. We would want to see this latest Friday. If that is not done, I'm sure public interest lawyers who always come to our defense would be in a hurry to help us drag all of them to the Accra High Court so that they come and explain why the court should not sanction or fine them for depriving the public what is legitimately due them.
Yeah.
In a deregulated market, you expect demand, supply,
should be
the market factors to drive prices.
Yeah.
How is it that when it's going up, it goes? When it has to come down, technicality sets in, grammar sets in and all of that. We beg them. They are our friends. They are our friends. We beg them. Reduce these prices so that the trotro drivers can at least heave a sigh of relief.
Yeah.
Reduce it so that if another day, for any reason, it now move from the 30 to 50, we can all agree that, it's gone up again. So Ghanaians may need to take a little inconvenience for whatever is going up. But if you don't reduce, now that it's gone down, and you stay, then stay there forever. Because if it goes up to even 1,000, I'm not sure any of us would agree to increases. So do the needful now, and when you have to increase, I'm sure you'll be increasing from the reduced point. David, if you don't do these things, we'll come after you. That one will promise them.
All right. Teiko, Ghanaians are very good at absorbing pain.
Yes, we suffer and smile.
Is there hope, as COPEC is calling for a reduction, that we will actually get a reduction? Because somehow we are on the receiving end, but we don't seem to we don't seem to ever, be in enough pain to cry out and say, stop it already, right? Yeah. We just allow and allow and allow. I think we have the highest prices of fuel that we've ever had, Meanwhile, global prices have dropped massively, and it looks like the trend is still downwards. What can we really do?
Well, first of all, I'd like to commend COPEC for, being on the ball and, for giving information very regularly on oil fuel prices. The key thing is that fuel is the blood that runs the nation. And the price of fuel, therefore, determines a lot of things.
Yes.
Not just for the trotro driver, but the price of goods at the market.
Even electricity.
Yes.
Because
the price of a ball of kinky, the price of fish and pepper, the basic commodities in life are all driven by fuel. And therefore, we need to have some hope in what the state has told us about this deregulation. Because when the deregulation came in, it was so that we would be able to realize the gains when fuel prices go down on the international market, but also suffer when the prices go up. And it was based on this assumption that Ghanaians said, yes, let's go ahead and agree to deregulation. Now, deregulation has started. You wake up in the morning and your fuel price has equal, like, I should have bought fuel yesterday. Deregulation has started, and we find that those who told us that this is what is supposed to happen have changed their minds. I am surprised with the loud silence from the Ministry of Energy. They are so silent. We have not heard anything at all from anybody. Nobody has said anything. So if it wasn't COPEC that was pushing for this, we will just know that, yes, the prices are going down, but that is it.
Yeah.
Why are they silent on this? And we need to ask the hard questions. I also think Ghanaians are also too silent as a people. We need to hit the streets. We need to tell the states that, you are here to support citizens, to ensure that citizens have a good life. If you reduce fuel prices by the percentages that COPEC is asking for, what will be the effect on Ghanaian standard of living as a whole?
Yeah.
Drastic. Especially as we are moving into the rainy season. The dry season is when prices of foods go up. Yeah. Drastic, especially as the exchange, the Citi is also, gaining strength. So we need to ask the questions. I think Ghanaians are too silent. As you say, Ghanaians have a very high threshold of pain. But we need to speak out. And I'm surprised too that the Ministry of Energy is also very quiet and hasn't said anything about it. We need to ensure that the Ministry of Energy also says something about this. And as Duncan is saying, they have to reduce the prices. That is a no-go area. I think it's also time that our laws have more sanctions.
Yeah.
So the law that gives the power for deregulation and says that the oil marketing companies can increase the rates or reduce the rates when things change. They should also put in sanctions to say that if this does not happen, these are the sanctions that an OMC would have because they have gone against the law. But nobody says it, so they are sitting there and their profit margins are increasing while Ghanaians are suffering. And so I think that it's time for Ghanaians to take up and say that we will not take this anymore. If it means going to court, if it means doing something to bring the attention of the state to this, I think that would be very helpful for us.
Just quickly before we move on to the next topic, Duncan, what's the current crude oil price per barrel?
As at yesterday, before I went to bed, it was $33
from
67 per barrel from 67.
Just for the benefit of our viewers, to give you perspective, right? In June 2008, the highest ever in the history of crude oil sales was recorded, $143 plus, $148 plus per barrel. $148 per barrel. Think about that. And we were in Ghana, and we were still buying crude oil and processing to get our fuel. And now it's 33. But our fuel prices are the highest they've ever been. Let's think about it.
Dave, I think her strong point, the loud silence of the ministry is deafening.
Okay.
They should speak. Because at this point, the global markets are tumbling. India has got their prices down. Even the United States, which pays dollar, as of yesterday, the last I checked, some states were doing about 1.99. That's less than $2 for a gallon. Though a gallon there is about 4 liters, ours is 5 liters. So if you do the standard conversion, their fuel per hour standard will sell for no more than 14 cedis.
Wow.
We are above 25.
Yeah.
And they said they haven't heard anything. Prices are dropping in the United States, in India. We who say we are deregulated and that international market forces will drive our prices.
Somebody has choked the prices from Okay, so a few more messages from our viewers on the last topic. Wolanyo and Akutia says, where have we gone wrong as a nation to experience another mass death on our roads? If you've ever traveled in public transport at night before, you will notice one thing on our roads: abnormal speeding by drivers, since there are few or no cars at all on the roads. I agree with you. I've experienced that. I wish we have a special day set aside to commemorate and educate our cherished drivers who carry lives to know its importance. Well, if that would make a difference, I think we should. Good morning, David and your panelists. The increasing carnage has become a national anthem we sing on a daily basis, and yet everyone sits unconcerned. Nothing changed after Dompoase, and I'm certain next month we'll sit here and discuss the same issue.
That's a prophet of doom.
God forbid. I pray not, but
it won't happen again.
We know how it is. We need dualization of these roads and find innovative ways of regulating the informal transport sector. We risk our lives every time we travel. Everyone is at risk. The time to act is now. This is Morgan from KNUST. Thank you very much for sending that message in. Really appreciate it. So let's do the last topic. Coronavirus outbreak. Let me just quickly read that story and then we'll jump into the conversation. 2 cases of coronavirus, CitiNewsroom.com, confirmed in Burkina Faso. A man and his wife have been confirmed as the first patients of coronavirus in Ghana's northern neighbor, Burkina Faso. According to Burkina Faso's health minister, Prof. Claudine Lugui, the couple recently returned from France. Addressing local media on Monday, 9th March 2020, the minister said the 2 patients have been quarantined in an isolation facility in the Tegandogo University Center Hospital in the capital, Ouagadougou. The minister said another person who was in close contact with the couple is being monitored closely under confinement at home. She said a health team is in place and following up on other persons who may have come into contact with the patients. We invite anyone who has stayed in affected areas or has been in close contact with a proven case to observe individual and collective prevention measures. Okay. All right. Take over. First of all, are we prepared? Are we ready? Have we done enough?
Every morning.
Our neighbor to the east and our neighbor to the north have all recorded cases.
Yeah. Every morning I wake up, look at the newspapers, and heave a sigh of relief. Every time a suspected case is negative, I heave a sigh of relief. Because we know that we were spared the Ebola virus.
Yep.
Even though we had systems in place in terms of... Now, when you go to most public places, you would see the sanitizers available. But then you never know because of the way that this virus is. So are we prepared? We will know when we get there first. When we get there first.
I pray it doesn't happen.
We are all focusing on prayer.
I pray that day
and
doesn't
only prayer. But what about the systems and the structures?
Yeah.
We know that, with the amount of visitors that come into Ghana, the probability of this happening is increasing by the day. I came through Kotoka a few weeks ago, and even the officials that were checking, the mask was uncomfortable for them. So they had to take it off to speak to you and put it back on. How are we doing that? It is.
No, but that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
When you are speaking to the person, that's the time the thing should be on.
Yes, wow. It doesn't. So I was looking at them, But I think we have put in place theoretically. So at least when you're coming in, they will let you fill in where you are coming from, who you have been in contact with, take your addresses and everything, as to whether people will give the right information. That is, I think we have to also share more information to the general public. The Ghana Health Service is doing well. Ministry of Health, I saw the minister doing a press conference a few days earlier. But we need daily information. How do we wash our hands well? Our children in schools, how do we ensure that we do not spread the virus? We are in the markets. Ghanaians love parties, funerals, weddings. Every weekend we are somewhere. We are crossing the motorways. We are crossing the highways. How do we reduce this? Simple issues like handshake.
Yeah.
The fact that we should not do that. These things have to be ingrained in us so that we are able to reduce the virus. I want the government and the Ministry of Health to show us their preparedness more. Not only in Accra, but in all the border points. In all the places that people come in. And we know our borders are porous. How do we ensure that somebody in Paga, Hamile, all those places, they are able to have the systems to track and reduce the virus. Yeah. So every single day is a prayer. But we should move beyond prayer and do something that gives us more empirical evidence of preparedness. And I think that is what we need.
I agree. Thank you. Duncan.
David.
Your thoughts on this one?
To take from where she ended, move beyond prayer, prepare. On a lighter note, I am a very optimistic mind. Corona would never happen.
Amen.
In fact, I'm very optimistic. The same way we saved the Ebola menace, Corona, I don't think would ever step into Ghana simply because we already have our version of Corona that is killing us.
The road carnage.
Road carnage is killing us by the day. Malaria is killing us. People not getting food to eat and starving and all of them. So we have our own version. Let the West deal with Corona for now because most of them are able to have some meaningful lifestyles. I think that in dealing with Corona, we should deal with the minimums that are killing people. Our maternity wards, our roads, the minimums about malaria, which shouldn't be a problem. If we could afford to subsidize malaria treatment to make it even one city, so that if people are uncomfortable, if they find out there's malaria, they can get early treatment than staying at home, taking porridge, and trying to combat it internally.
Yeah.
So we have our own version of corona, and I do think that whilst waiting, whether it will cross our borders or not, which I believe it won't anyway, we should also channel a lot of our energies in curbing preventable deaths. Because if somebody doesn't get corona and perishes at Kintampo, I'm sure their end might have been a lot more dreaded than someone who had corona and coughed for a while. So the things that come to us as corona are in many forms and shapes. Let's find a way to deal with some of these so that we can prevent unnecessary deaths on our land. David.
Thank you. Well, let me just say quickly before we end the show that just remind you of some safety tips. I think it's very important for us to always remind ourselves that it's important to wash your hands all the time. Don't get tired of washing your hands, because your hands go on different surfaces. If you're climbing down the stairs, your hands will be touching the balustrade. If you're sitting at a desk, somebody has sat there, sneezed, coughed, your hands are on the desk. You've picked up something on your hands. If we have the habit and develop the culture of washing our hands on a regular basis, I'm talking about maybe 20, 30 times a day. I'm not talking about 3 or 4 times a day. I'm talking about as often as you possibly can. Wash your hands. Get into the habit of using proper alcohol-based sanitizers. It's very important. Also, remember that covering your nose and your mouth when you're coughing or sneezing is also the responsible thing to do, all right? Because you don't want to pass whatever you have on to anybody else. Now, you may not have anything, but it's just a good practice when you're thinking about other people who are around you, not to transfer anything to them. And then this is even beyond coronavirus. This is just basically common sense health practice, just in general. And then also, if you do find that somebody has flu-like symptoms and is coughing, try to also make sure that you keep a safe distance. And a safe distance, I'm suggesting, from what I've read so far, 2 to 3 meters away from the person, because that's the droplet force. That is how it spreads when the person coughs. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this segment of the show. I'm grateful to my guest, Teiko Sabah, who is with Star Ghana Foundation, and then also to Duncan Amoah, who is with COPEC. I'm grateful to all of you for the messages that you sent.
Hi, I hope you enjoyed the show. Do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share with your friends. This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Join us for breakfast daily, only on Citi TV.